Well, hi there, food friends. It's Kevin.
And Marianne behind the camera.
And welcome to Cavalcade of Food. And today we are going to take a look at electric food processors. So a few weeks ago, I did a video on manual hand food processors. And I said that I would get a sampling of electric food processors from the collection here at the Cavalcade, and so I've got some to take a look at. So, you know, food processors, electric food processors as we know them now, really started coming on in the late 1960s and early 1970s, but they were not a big hit, Mayor. They were not an instant success like some other appliances. Someone saw them in France, the Cuisinart, and decided to import them, but they were incredibly expensive. And frankly, there wasn't a big market for them because people just saw them as sort of a super deluxe blender. But people in the know understood that they could do so much more than what a blender could do. And eventually, chefs, people who were actual cooks, and other people who were famous started using them, and then, of course, once all the cool people are using it, you know what happens, Mayor, right?
Everybody uses them.
That's right. Everybody wants one. So there's always been these influencers, and the early influencers really helped with the food processor. And really, the first one of any consequence was the Cuisinart. And I'm still on a hunt all these years later for one of those real early Cuisinarts from that period when they first started being sold in the United States. But I do have some examples of Cuisinarts that are from the 70s and 80s. So these have been around a long time, and they certainly have done a lot of work. So, you know, I will just say that the Cuisinart is really the standard, and I still believe that it is. I don't have a lot of modern appliances, but they still, of course, make food processors and Cuisinart, and while the look has changed, the basic design sort of is still the same, and it is the go-to. I will say that I think the Cuisinarts generally have the most power, and these are the ones that I use when I use a electric food processor. So this is two examples of the DLC-10 right here. This was very much the model that most consumers were buying of Cuisinart early on. You'll notice that the color, Mayor, of the base is, you know what we call this color?
No.
Almond.
Almond.
And you'll see how the glass is, or not the glass, this is plastic, and it's very heavy-duty plastic, but it's amber tinted. Now Cuisinarts are white, and the plastic is clear. But this was very in vogue in that earth-toned 70s and going into the 80s, and so the plastic part is tinted. And this one is what they call the basic model. This one is the standard model. So you'll see really the main difference, they're pretty much the same machine, but is this, okay? This one has, the basic, has the food chute right there, all right? And of course you have blades that go in for slicing and for shredding. This is the regular chopping blade here. There's also a plastic blade there for making dough. But on your basic machine, you just have this just sort of standard feed tube with the pusher. But with the Cuisinarts, I don't know if you can tell, but at the very, very bottom here, there is a little hole in there. And the same holds true here, a little hole. And that is actually there for oil. Because one of the things that you can make in your food processor is homemade mayonnaise and salad dressings. And you want the oil to drizzle in slowly, so you actually pour the oil into the middle of the feed tube in these cups, and it slowly drizzles into the chamber at just the right amount so that you get your emulsion. But these are real workhorses. And of course, the other thing about these Cuisinarts is they do have a safety, because as you know, you have to have the top put in and locked in place so that you can have the motor go on. But this is really the difference between the two, is this one has a little bit more of a fancier feed tube mechanism. It comes off, but of course this is where, and it's also larger, I should say. So let's compare. There's that, and there's that. See the difference?
Yeah.
So this is really, for potatoes, blocks of cheese, and things like this. This is really the better. This is okay for carrots and stuff, but anything larger, you have to do a lot of pre-cutting in order to get it down the feed tube. But this was a less expensive model for people who couldn't get the full-on one. And then we come to this baby. This is the one that I love. I think this is the best food processor Cuisinart or anybody else has ever made. You can see, Mare, can you see how much bigger this is?
Yeah.
This is a big kahuna, okay? This is a DLCX. If you ever see one, you can still buy one this size brand new. They're not inexpensive. If you ever see one in good shape at a sale, grab it, because this is a nice machine. And by the way, heavy. They're all heavy. These have got big motors. These were all made in Japan, okay? Cuisinart had manufacturing in Japan at this time. I think it's all made in China now, but at the time things were made in Japan. And here is the you can see the size of this feed tube. Look how big that is. And then you have, this is your slicing blade. This is your shredding blade. And heavy, heavy gauge stainless steel, okay? Very heavy gauge. Here's actually a new stem I got for it. Haven't even used it yet. And your cutting blade. So, also, what's nice on this model is the thing about the food processors is they all have a pulse feature. So on these smaller models, your pulse feature is here by pressing down. If you want it to just stay on, you lift it up. Certainly easy enough. You've got one kind of toggle in the front. But you'll notice on the big boy here, we've got two. Your pulse has its own separate button. It's very big. And when your hands are covered with chopped up vegetables and all kinds of other gunk, it's nice to have a big, giant switch here that you can just press with your thumb or your knuckle. And then if you wanted to keep it on, you've got your own switch just to have a stationary running. And that is the Cuisinart DLC-X. So these made a big splash, and this was a hot thing to have. It really said, I am a cook if I had one of these machines. It does, it's always a balancing game there, hauling this out and using it, and then having to wash all the parts, right?
Right.
Versus how are your knife skills? There are sometimes I can, give me a knife and a cutting board and I can just knock something out in 2 minutes and then I don't have to fuss. But when you've got a big job to do, these are a good kitchen friend for sure. So, all right, here's some Cuisinarts. Now, nothing breeds competition like success. So, the other manufacturers took notice of the Cuisinart, and one of them was Sunbeam. And so here, Marianne, I have two examples of a Sunbeam food processor. And here, this one, actually, I have the manual that came with it. Food processor recipes and instructions. We have a copyright date somewhere in here, 1978. Okay? 1978. And it's so funny, you notice it's got the sort of smoked, amberish container. It's more akin to the smaller one here on the Cuisinart. And if the Sunbeam, these were quite heavy, but if you look, these are basically the same units, the same bases. The only difference is one is almond and one is white. And this one is the Sunbeam food processor. You can see it here. But this one, Mare, look what it says. LeChef, French. So that was a hearkening to the Cuisinart because everyone, associated Cuisinart with French cooking and having a French history. So Sunbeam called their later food processor LeChef, and it has a sort of a sliding, these are both the same, a sliding switch where if you push it to the right, it is a stationary constant on, but you can slide it to the left for pulse. You'll also see, and it came with all the blades, okay? Here's a shredder blade. Here is a plastic blade. The metal blade is inside the container. This is a dough blade is really how they advertised it. I'm not quite sure what that is. I have to look in the book. You got an actual Sunbeam spatula that came with it for scraping the bowl. What else do we have? This is a slicing blade. And what do we got here? Ooh, a julienne blade. Okay? For cutting things into julienne strips. So, anyways, but you had to have, the thing is, all right, so now you got to kind of keep track of all the stuff with it. One thing I always liked about the Cuisinart is that you could keep all the blades and everything in it all fits in the container, where these other ones don't. You've got a bag or a box of stuff. But I want to show you one other design change that they made. And I'll draw your attention to the feed tubes. You notice, Mare, the difference?
One's vertical, one's horizontal.
Yes, this one, the food tube is here on the side. And on this one, it's in the front. So, you know, this is, I'm standing behind it. You would be facing, this would be the front of the machine when you're working. So it seems natural that maybe you would want the food tube closer to you. But here they had it on the side for some reason. Don't know why. But this is the Sunbeam food processor, Sunbeam LeChef. And Sunbeam did pretty well. They sold quite a few of these. They were less expensive than the Cuisinart. They were a little bit more cumbersome to use. This is the blade. This is what the blade looks like. It says here, blade is made in Japan. It's actually a serrated blade here on the Sunbeam. But there's two examples. And here, we'll look at some more. So here, Marianne, are a couple examples of electric food processors made by General Electric. And there were two different sort of styles. This one is sort of akin, again, to the Cuisinart, kind of where you had a motor directly underneath your bowl that was a direct drive. You'll notice the lid has this little side chute, which you can open and close. It has a little gate that goes up or down. And if you wanted to, Mare, you could have a bowl here, and as you were slicing things, it would spit it out into the bowl. Sort of handy, because you didn't necessarily have maybe enough room here. So this is a dual disc. It's shredded on one side. Now, if you flip it over, it's got a slicing blade on it. So it can go either way. This is your blade slicer here. And again, I like this because everything fits within the work bowl, which is nice. Then your front controls, you've got an off and on, and then of course you have your pulse button in orange. Now, this was their General Electric food processor Supreme. Again, direct drive, like the others we've seen so far. Then they made one that was less expensive. And this one may look familiar to you, Mare. You know why?
Mom had it.
Yes, Mom. And these were actually really popular. because these General Electric food processors were they're lighter weight, they have a much smaller motor in them, and they were less expensive. And you can see by the shape of it too, the motor's back here, and it drives with a belt kind of a thing. So it's engineered a little bit differently, and it has again a double-sided blade for either shredding or slicing, and then you have your metal blade here. Work bowl, not real big, but certainly big enough for a lot of jobs. I know Mom used hers for coleslaw, remember? Shredding that cabbage. Yeah. She liked the way that it cut the cabbage, and it did make good quick work of it, because she never made just a little coleslaw. It was always a lot of coleslaw, but we love coleslaw. So on the front, you've got an off and on switch here, and you've got your orange. General Electric used orange for your pulse. And that's it. It had a very basic locking lid. The only safety on it was you have this release button back here to get the lid off. Very easy to use, very lightweight. So here's a couple offerings from General Electric. Now, we're going to get into a couple economy models. Not that these were super cheap, but they were even more or less expensive. This one, Mare, it's called Cuisine Techniques. And I don't know how close you can get to the label, but it's Cuisine Techniques food processor, and you won't be able to see it. It's going to be too small for the camera, but right here it has the Kmart logo on it. So yes, you could get a Cuisinart knockoff food processor at your local Kmart store. Had a very little plastic, also doubled as a measuring cup. No hole in the bottom, though, for making mayonnaise. But feed tube couldn't be more simple. Here you had your blade. This one actually has these blade covers on it. A lot of them use these serrated blades, I believe, because they probably lasted longer, stayed sharp for longer. But it also did come with a bag of accessories. You got a slicing blade and a shredding blade and a dough hook. So it wasn't, and like I said, I don't know what this retailed for. It would have been less than anything we have seen thus far. You look on the bottom, see if it tells us. Kmart Cuisine Techniques food processor. UL listed, manufactured in Hong Kong for Kmart Corporation. All right. So here's what I can tell you. Kmart Corporation was called SS Kresge Company, I think, until 1978. And then they changed the name of the corporation from Kresge to Kmart because Kresge's were being phased out and Kmart was now the bulk of their business. Although we loved those Kresge stores, didn't we, Mare?
Yes.
So anyways, this is probably 78, 79, in that vintage. And then one more, and this is fun because I have the original box for the American food processor, powerful direct drive motor. And on this side of the box mirror, again, the camera won't pick it up, but there's a price tag, and with the name of a store on it, Corvettes, another store we loved, EJ Corvettes, and the price tag is $38.99. But you can see they had now a special $5 plus rebate certificate inside. So this one, by the way, made in the USA, the American Electric Corporation, Culver City, California, had a 1-year warranty. You got a spatula, slicing attachment, shredding attachment, plastic mixing blade, metal blade, all attachments dishwasher safe. The gourmet food processor cuts, chops, shreds, slices, grates, mixes, blends, and kneads bread doughs, meats, vegetables, nuts, cheeses, fish, much more, and does it instantaneously. Turns a cook into a chef. See that little French chef there?
Yeah.
So again, everybody was getting in on the act. And here it is. All the attachments are in the box. It's complete. This one still has a sticker that shows you the correct position for food shoot. Again, because, it was safety. It has the amber. This one's quite dark, actually. Smoked work bowl. And look at this blade. Look at that number. That's a finger slicer, huh? Got to be careful. Very serrated. I actually did use this unit. I did a video, if anybody's interested in seeing it. Oh my gosh, years ago. I don't even know how many years ago. 6, 7 years ago. I made tabbouleh, right, with the parsley.
Yeah.
And of course, you have to chop that parsley up pretty fine. And I used this machine in it. But anyways, it's American food processor. Read instructions before using, unplug before inserting or removing attachments. So there it is. So again, a cheaper option for people who wanted a food processor. And this one sort of, the chute is sort of on offset like that to the side, sort of an interesting kind of design. That is, if I have the bowl on right, and I'm not sure that I do. But, okay. So, just a sampling. I'm sorry some of these videos just go on because I could just talk all day about these vintage appliances. But I know people were interested after I did the video on the manual food processors, and so here are the electric ones. It's not all of them, but a good random sampling of the ones in the collection. So I hope you like these vintage appliance videos, and if you do, I would ask you to say so by hitting the like button. I'll also ask you to subscribe to the channel, please, if you want to stay informed about new episodes and the like. You can hit subscribe, and it also does help the channel out quite a bit when you do that. Marianne, there's a website. Let's tell our friends what it is.
Cavalcadafood.com.
She gets it every time, folks. Cavalcadafood.com. You can go there and stay connected with other things that I do. I have another YouTube channel called Always Analog, a radio program that's resuming here in a month or so. So anyways, but I want to thank my little sister for working the camera for me.
You're welcome.
And we want to thank our food friends for watching. I hope everyone is well and enjoying the beautiful summer weather. And if you've got a food processor at home or you had one, what did you think? Do you use it? Do you not use it? Do you love it? Could you live without it? You tell me. What's your favorite thing to use it for? I have some friends who swear by making pie crust, pie pastry dough in their food processor. They think it does it the best. I haven't, to be honest with you, I've never done it. I will have to try it someday. What's your recommendation? Share in the comments. I love reading them. So thanks again, and we'll see you back here again real soon, right on Cavalcade of Food. Bye, everybody.
Bye.